Hi, my name is Tim. I'm going to talk about some lessons I've learned from building distributed systems and maybe how they could be applied to the front end. So here's my first thesis, that queues, messages, and logs make building back-end systems much easier. So you might be familiar if you've built a back-end system with this kind of pattern, right? There's some endpoint, and maybe it's a web server, right? And so clients just talk to that endpoint maybe talks to a database. But you quickly regret that because as more clients come online or as database queries are a little bit slower, you realize that the whole pipeline is tied together, right, in time. So for a request to finish, maybe takes too long and your web server might get overloaded, for example. So one way you might fix that is say, hey, I'll introduce a queue, and this is good. It gives you what I call time independence, right? So you can process these messages separately from when they're requested by the client. And it also helps with things like throttling, and maybe if the back-end system goes down, you can do retries, right? So then after that, you might say, all right, well, now I have many kind of databases, right? Full text, document, all kinds of systems. And you quickly realize after you've kind of gone to this topology that you run into, it really looks like this, right? There's lots of stuff talking to lots of stuff. And I think this creeps up on people primarily because of this idea, the idea of a fully connected graph, right? You can see here when you just have a few nodes of the graph, the number of edges are pretty small. But as you add nodes to the graph, the number of edges quickly increases, doubling and tripling and growing much faster. So you get around that problem, you might introduce the idea of a message bus, right? So now maybe your system looks like this. Things in the back are all talking to the message bus. Maybe your message bus has like a pub sub system or something. But then maybe another problem you run into is, well, what if one of my databases fail or go down? How do I bring it back up? So then maybe you have an out-of-band loading system, right? Most databases do have like a commit log or something that you could load from. But wouldn't it be nice if that was all part of the same system, right? Queues, the message bus, and the log to reload your databases. And that would give you something called or what I call state independence, right? So you can do all kinds of denormalizations, build snapshots, and reload very easily. It turns out there's a system like this. It's called Kafka. Maybe you've heard of it. And essentially the way it works is it's a log. You only append. And each reader or consumer can be at any point in the log and read forward, right? So if it fails at certain things, it can just rewind itself and reread the log. And so I propose we steal this idea and use it in the front end. And there's a really good talk by this guy here, Martin Kleppman, Turning the Database Inside Out, about Kafka and Stanza, if you want to look at it. So thesis 2, let's use this on the front end. And so I just propose changing a few words. Right down here, instead of databases, there's just views, like rendering views. And over here, instead of lots of clients, there's things like GPS signals from the GPS, database updates coming in, or user actions, right? And so I'm working on a project that I call Lumberyard right now, and the idea is to bring what Kafka gives you in the back end to the front end. Sorry, I'm getting away. And we'll be releasing it in probably a few days, and it'll become part of a large production system over the next few months, many tens of thousands of lines of code. So let's see. Real quick look at the API. You can log a message, that's adding one. You could read end messages and filter by tag. You can save the log, you can load the log, you can compact it with a couple different strategies. Here's some use cases. So if you have a bad connection and you want to load a lot of stuff from a database or something, or if a user fills out a large form and you want to submit it, it's really annoying for the user, right? If they are driving through a tunnel maybe, or they're somewhere with a bad connection. So you can do retries. Logging and analytics, you can exfiltrate messages at a convenient time, right? If you first send them to this logging system. Development and debugging, so you can reload the state of the application after you change your code. That's really nice if you follow this pattern. And web workers, so if you have architected your application so you send messages to this log, you can put them on other threads, like with Node WebKit or Electron. And throttling. This is a big one coming up with request idle callback. If you haven't seen that, it's in Chrome now. It's really cool. So you can schedule when you would do updates to the state. So they don't have to happen right away. It's really nice. And that's it.